If you're trying to score a 520 on the MCAT or even something like a 515 or a 510, there are really only three big things that it really comes down to. The first one is the most straightforward, and it's how well you have the content memorized. For the high yield information, you have to be able to reteach all of those topics purely from memory without seeing any of them for multiple days. And for a high yield topic, that includes the details. So I don't like it when people focus a lot on low yield facts, but the details of a high yield topic are extremely important to have memorized. For example, take something like acetyl coenzyme A. You should be able to say any enzyme that acts on that or any enzyme that produces it, and talk about any of the pathways that it can go into. For help on what exactly is high yield, my content library has 500 pages of chem phys and biochem material that is only high yield. The second thing that you have to do to score well is understand why things work the way they do. Having stuff memorized is not enough. You truly have to understand how things work and why they work. This one is a little bit trickier to do, but one thing you can do is explain it to somebody without a science background and explain it in a way that they feel like they actually understand why something works the way it does. If you can't break it down into that simple of terms, there's a really good chance you actually don't quite understand all of the nuances with that topic. I would also suggest recording your explanations and listening back to those, and then compare it to the source of that content and see if you covered all of the explanations for why these things work how they do. Last thing you need to do really well is a strong passage reading ability. You have to be able to read an MCAT style passage and understand virtually every single part of it. This is definitely the most complicated skill to build because it requires a good understanding of the content, a good memorization of that content, and then you have to also build the skill of applying that content to these complicated passages. In my opinion, the skill gets built through how you review your passages. And what I always find myself telling the people that I tutor is that they have to be explaining why. It is not enough to just summarize a passage. You have to be able to read it, take what you know from content, use that content to then explain why what the passage is saying actually makes sense. Don't ever just read something that the passage is saying and accept it as being true. Try to verify that it actually is true by applying things that you know from content. That process will take a lot of time and a lot of reps to get really good with it.